Ah, VHS logos. Why do they hold such a firm grip on our most nostalgic memories? Essentially, they're just there for brand awareness, a small reminder of the company that distributed the tape you're watching. You could probably just get away with showing a flat image on the screen and it wouldn't make any difference. Yet somehow, VHS logo sequences were often very elaborate and colourful, with funky graphics and primitive CGI that made them oddly memorable if you happened to see them as a child. For me, they were like a mini experience to set you up for whatever you were watching, and sometimes they had a weird effect on my imagination. I'd often daydream about the context behind these logos to a ridiculous extent. Of course, we all know classics like the 20th Century Fox logo and Warner Brothers, but with so much choice in the saturated VHS market, some of these logos could come from pretty obscure companies, and since I'm clearly bored out of my mind, it's time to look back on some of the most memorable VHS logos from my childhood, and overanalyze them in excruciating detail. Time to get loco with some logos. Channel 5 was a distributor who released a lot of preschool videos when I was young, but before we even talk about the logo, I have to bring up the name. Channel 5? I always thought it had something to do with the TV channel, but apparently there's no connection. But if that's the case, why call it Channel 5 Video in the first place? Why not Channel 1 Video? And what happened to Channels 2, 3, and 4 while you're at it? I don't know. But wait a minute, at the time this company was formed in 1986, there were only 4 terrestrial TV channels in the UK, so maybe they were trying to say their tapes were like having a 5th channel? Now there's a crazy theory for you. As for the logo itself, I think the music in this one sticks out the most to me. It sounds like something you'd hear on an old kid's toy, like a music box. It's tasteless, and yet strangely comforting at the same time. Every time I hear it, it's like I'm 5 years old again, watching that sooty cartoon that no one remembers. It's like a shot of nostalgia straight up your nose. It's potent. Hit Entertainment used to put out a lot of kids shows like Bob the Builder, and their logo was always pretty epic. It's like being sent down into a twirling tornado of amazing excitement. As a kid, it was so dazzling, I used to rewind the tape just so I could watch it over and over again. Maybe all the crazy colours and shapes were intended to hook kids into watching it. You could practically use this logo as an intro for a sci-fi show. Jokes aside, this is one cool logo, fun from beginning to end. It's like a party for your imagination, and everyone's invited. Much like Channel 5, this one is tasteless through and through. It just screams cheap, but it's cheap in that endearing kind of way that you can't help but enjoy. The music sounds like it's being played on a toy guitar through a wall, and the stripy logo makes it look like someone just smeared the screen with toothpaste. And why are there 2 logos anyway? Is it Abbey Home Entertainment or Tempo Video? It's like they couldn't make their minds up, so they just put both on the screen. I always thought it was Tempo Video. I mean, their logo is way bigger, but either way, when you saw this, it was always the signal that mum just bought you a cheap video from the pound shop, and now you're stuck with it. Yeah, thanks mum, it's just what I wanted. Ugh. PolyGram was a pretty famous video company back in the day, but the only real question I have about this logo is, who is this strange blue angel man flying through the sky? It's such a random out-of-context image that it always confused me. I asked my mum once and she said, oh, it's Mr. PolyGram. Yes, Mr. PolyGram. What a great answer. Better write that down on Wikipedia. Mr. PolyGram. Why did I believe her? This logo scared a lot of people back in the day, myself included, but it's difficult to explain why. It always required a weird combination of music and atmosphere. If you saw this in the day with the sound off, then no big deal. But if you were all alone in the dark, settling down in bed to watch a nice Postman Pat tape to fall asleep to, with your eyes glued to the screen and only the glow of the TV for light, then this logo was creepy with a capital C. It just sounds so depressing, like someone just died. In fact, you could use this as game over music and it would work in any situation. By contrast, the visuals aren't that bad. Play anything else over this and it wouldn't be nearly as effective. But with the real music, the logo just looks threatening, like the BBC are mad at you for daring to put one of their tapes on. And the worst thing is, if you fell asleep while the tape was on, the logo repeats at the end of the tape. In fact, it might be even louder the second time. Imagine waking up to this, it's pure nightmare fuel. That'll teach you for liking Postman Pat. Actually, this freaked out so many kids, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason they changed the logo a few years later. Listen to how peaceful the sequel sounds by comparison. Yeah, it's chill on a stick. It's like the perfect antidote to the first one, a complete reversal. How bizarre. This one was always a bit of a head trip as a kid. It's like you've been shrunk down into a tiny spaceship, flying through a bunch of giant letters at top speed like a huge maze. There was just something fun about it. It was like a mini adventure. I only ever had one tape with this logo on it, but that just made it uniquely awesome to me. This is another one I'd rewind all the time just so I could see it again. It's actually a pretty cool way of making use of early CGI, getting right into the logo and creating a tiny world inside. Quite ahead of its time for the mid-90s, and a highly memorable logo. Plus Pickwick is just a fun word to say. Pickwick. Pickwick. Make that the hot new slang word.
نندم يا Nickelodeon إيه
أنا واحد Nickelodeon واحد. One world, one Nickelodeon.
Desayuno kaya yung sala Nickelodeon.
One mundo, un Nickelodeon.
Ik Nickelodeon.
一つの世界、一つのNickelodeon。
一个我，一个尼可乐天。
It's no secret that Nickelodeon's logos have always been pretty strange, but I always found this one the most bizarre of them all. In hindsight, it's actually quite clever, using so many languages that this logo works in whatever country you're watching it in. It's kind of universal in that sense. But if, like me, you were just a 5-year-old when you saw this, all I ever heard was a bunch of phonetic nonsense. I didn't know these kids were talking in different languages. I thought I just didn't understand what they were saying, so I had to make up my own versions in my head.
Desayuno kaya yung sala Nickelodeon.
Un mundo, un Nickelodeon. 一つの世界、一つのNickelodeon。
And on that insane note, I think we'll leave it right there. So that was just a small selection of some of my most memorable VHS logos. What were some of your favourites from your own youth? And if you think I missed out on some, which logos should I talk about in a future video? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video, and look out for more reviews coming soon. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to like and subscribe, support me on Patreon for early access to new episodes, and don't forget you can buy a ton of these tapes from the official Back to the Past eBay store. See you next time!